Oh man, it's time for another video. Let's get into it, man. Okay, apparently there's a lot of speculation from the Xbox community, mainly going around that the PS4 has been jailbroken. Now, that is actually not really the case here. So, let me explain what is happening. Now, you may say, hey, Jimmy, what are you talking about? How do you know what's going on? I'm not going to say that I know exactly what's going on. I'm going to say that I worked in a repair shop and I repaired PS3s and Xbox 360s for at least 5 or 6 years. Okay? So that means I know a little bit about the hardware. Now, if you work in a repair shop, you either modded consoles or you worked in a shop where they probably did mod consoles. And I worked in a shop where they modded consoles. Okay? I didn't mod consoles, but I worked in a shop where they did. Okay? So I do know a little bit about it. So let me explain, because the process on how the PS4 was jailbroken is exactly the same way the PS3 was jailbroken. So a lot of people are saying that the PS4 is jailbroken. Now here's what's happening right here. What is happening is a guy named C-Turk has access to the NAND chip on the motherboard. The NAND chip is where the information, the BIOS, if you want to call it, for the system is located. Now, he was able to break into the NAND and get that information. Now, of course, if you have the information for how the console works, you can manipulate it to do things like run unauthorized software, i.e. piracy, homebrew. Means you can tell the console to ignore all of those codes telling it not to play pirated games and things of that nature. Now, we are not at the point where there is custom firmware for the console yet. So the people who are running around saying that it's jailbroken are actually jumping the gun. That means that the firmware that was hacked is jailbroken. So if your PlayStation is running on this firmware, there's probably a method to get it to do things like play pirated games. Now, the reason I'm making this video is because the way that the firmware works on the PlayStation, every time they do a firmware update, they update the security. Now, there's keys that are dumped in there to lock you out of the access to the firmware. So these keys have to be known every time they change the firmware, because if you have the key for that firmware and they change the key on the new firmware, you have to figure this out. So what I'm saying is there's no need to run around getting crazy. It's probably going to be coming somewhere down the line, but this just means that they're closer to getting there. They are not there yet. Now let's talk about the firmware. Apparently, the firmware version 1.76 is the one that was actually hacked. So if you have that console, which is the actual Last of Us bundle, if you have that PS4, that's the one that was hacked. The reason that you need to know which one it is because any firmware after that has different keys assigned to it, so you won't be able to get through the door. That's why they call them keys, because you get access. So the 1.76 firmware has been hacked, not the PS4. So I'm making this video so that you people who really think you know what you're talking about can have an idea of what you're really talking about here. So hopefully I was able to educate you guys on this, because a lot of you guys have no clue what you're talking about and you are spreading misinformation and misunderstanding factual information. And of course, with the Xbox community, they like to take facts and misunderstand them. I'm not going to say they just straight change them and lie, even though they do. I'm just saying that this is what's happening. So hopefully this video can be used and shown to these guys. If they would like to say something to me, of course, hit me up in the comment section, or we could have some kind of debate where I can explain this. And I'm not trying to stall with nobody. I'm just trying to educate you guys, because the ignorance is bliss, and it is quite terrible to me to hear all of this misunderstanding of what the PS4 is actually happening. So the 1.76 firmware, yes, it was hacked. The firmware that was hacked is already updated. So more than likely, you would probably not be able to use this firmware until they find a way to continuously hack every firmware that comes out, which is unlikely. That is why with the PS3, when they hacked it, a lot of people stayed on the infamous 3.55 software, because anything past that, the keys were locked out and nobody could hack it. So this is something that is not really important. Most of the time you won't be able to go online with the games anyway. I can't tell you the amount of customers who came to me and they needed their consoles repaired because they did all kinds of nonsense trying to do these jailbreaks. So this is definitely not nothing to worry about. And here's a set of bad news for the Xbox community, for the people that are actually thinking this is a good thing and they're saying it's Sony's crap and the PS4's crap. If the PS4 actually does get hacked and it gets homebrew pirated games, Do you realize it's going to sell more consoles, not less? I mean, yeah, probably games will be pirated, but not consoles. So keep that in mind when you say that this is a crazy bad thing for PlayStation. It's your boy Jimmybgaming. Make sure you share this video with your favorite Xbot who is running this propaganda, and make sure you stay in tune with the real news and the real understanding, the real knowledge here on my channel. Subscribe if you're new. I'm out of here. Peace. Later.